Hi everyone, and welcome to the Sagittarius Sun, Moon, or Rising June 2021 Curiosity, Courage, and Contemplation reading. So for anyone who is joining new or returning, welcome. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and meaning-based spiritual coaching services. All of my content is here to engage you and inform you of the Triad of Engagement, which is taking the three basic principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation, and showing you how, when applied together, they can keep you fully engaged and in flow with the unique energetic imprint of your life. All content here on my YouTube channel and on my website and on my Patreon page are here to help you answer your own I am question so that you can re-engage with life in a more authentic, meaningful, and emotionally fulfilling way. If you are interested in learning more about how the Triad of Engagement can help liberate you from feelings of frustration, anxiety, and attachment, and re-engage you with the principles and feelings of purpose and passion and meaning, you can click on the link below to watch a video that goes deeper into the Triad of Engagement, as well as if you'd like to book a personal reading or to view the extended readings for each one of the monthly readings, you can click on my website link in the description box below or my link to my Patreon page. All right, Sagittarius, let's get right into your reading. So the way these readings are set up, if you are new, we will pull an energetic card for each principle, one for curiosity, one for courage, and one for contemplation. And then we will pull a card of advice and an additional card that I like to term as more of an encouragement card than an advice card. All right, Sagittarius. So we are moving into the month of June. And June is a 11 universal month. And for those of you who are not familiar with numerology, I do apply some of that into both my readings and my coaching practice. All right, first card out for curiosity is Angel of Love. Love that card, so pretty. And to kind of talk about June in general. So numerologically wise, the way that the month is factored is when you're looking at the actual month. So June is the 6th month of the year, and you will add that numerically to the year. So it's 2021. And you break down 2021 and you add up each number together. So it'd be 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1, which when you add those together equal the number 5. So 5 plus the month number of 6 equals 11. Now in numerology, when you have a number 11 or a double digit number, usually you will reduce that to a single digit. But when you get to 11, 22, or 33, these are seen as master numbers. And so they remain as a double digit number. Now, you can reduce it. Kind of the shadow side to the number 11 is falling back into the more negative traits of the number 2. And without going too deep into numerology, since I know you're here for tarot and not numerology, the number 11 really signifies our bridge between us as unique individuals and the divine, or everything that is beyond ourselves that we cannot explain. The number 2 in numerology looks at connections, specifically interpersonal connections. And the kind of shadow side to the number 2 is that instead of bringing your best self forward and finding equal partnership as you look to make connections with others, you can fall into a place of giving of yourself and not meeting or not expecting others to meet you at the same level that you value yourself. So there can be this level of almost like martyrdom to the number 2 if you're not careful. Now, the number 11 takes that up a notch. It resonates at a much higher frequency. And so we have this ability this month to really break through those barriers that mostly are self-imposed between bringing our most authentic version of ourselves and the version of ourselves that we that we see the value in, and being able to bring that out at its highest level to meet with the divine, to meet with our external environment, and really expect that it will be met with opportunities, possibilities, and life-changing relationships. And so this month, if you go to my Patreon page, there will be material that focuses on helping you engage with who you are as a unique individual, as well as then helping you be able to understand what makes you different versus everybody else, and how you connect and fit in to the greater all. So looking at the dynamic relationship between yourself and everybody else, and being able to understand that, the number 11 is 1 and 1. So it's always going to be you and somebody else. And really understanding that when you bring yourself authentically and expect the same to be returned by somebody else, that you accept them for who they are, that's really helping you walk through that portal, opening up the portal to the divine, to the spiritual illumination that comes when 2 individuals are allowed to really shine at their brightest together. So, and keeping that in mind, we will, kind of bring that theme in here this month into looking at, really who you are versus everyone else. And Sagittarius, you are a sign of spiritual awareness, but you're a fun sign. You're a sign that likes to act on passion. And this month, I've noticed as I've been doing my readings that there is a general underlying theme of it's time to go for it. Now, how that manifests is different for each sign, and I think for each individual, but specifically for each sign. Some, it's coming in more as this internal slow awakening process, and for some it's really being pushed by external influences to get out there. It's time to get out there and go and be yourself. And so I'm really curious to see what's going to come out for you, since you kind of are the sign that embodies go and act on your passions. All right, so let's see what's going to come up for courage. We already have curiosity. Let's see what comes up for courage. We have 2 cards. We have broken heart and rest and rejuvenation for courage. And I will go into all of these after I put the cards down, so don't worry if you can't read them or you don't understand them. And now we'll go into contemplation. Now, each one of these principles really looks to bring in different aspects of self, and I will incorporate that as I move through the reading as well. So contemplation specifically really looks to help you open to reflection and integration of lessons learned. This is our seat of continued self-education. I like to, when I talk about the Triad of Engagement, which is curiosity, courage, and contemplation all applied together, curiosity I talk about as more in line with destiny, that we are to be curious about the unknown and staying open to what I would say is the one constant in life, which is change. It's that there are certain things that will always be outside of our control. but we have to stay curious to them. And curiosity helps open you up to optimism, openness, and receptivity. Courage is really our seat of free will and personal power. So if you look at curiosity with our openness to destiny and the uncontrollable, we then move into courage, which is the seat of our personal power, which is our free will and how we choose to act with regards to what's coming in from our external environment. So this is your internal environment engaging with your external environment. And this is really where we take action. It's the seat of innovation and authentic self-expression. And then we have contemplation. So if we look at curiosity and courage as the dynamic tension between destiny and free will, we then have contemplation as the final key to help unlock the importance of what the Triad of Engagement can bring to your life. And it's not that one factor, one principle is more important than another. It comes down to, if you don't complete the triad, you're not bringing the full power to light of how these three principles work together. So contemplation really ties these two together, because this is where you take what's coming in your external environment, you act, you basically make decisions or take courageous action in meeting and engaging with what's coming in. And then in contemplation, this is where you take a look at the consequences of those actions, and really where you can start to take responsibility for yourself and for your life and for your continued education. Meaning, not education in the book smart kind of way, where you have to go back to school or you have to read 100 books. Education in the way that you are learning from direct experience, that you are taking what you have learned from interacting with your external experience and bringing awareness to it. And this is how we learn lessons and how we grow. So we evolve as individuals. And you have Magician and the Mirror for your contemplation element here. And you know, Scorpio just got that as well. Love that card. Okay, so the underlying energy is journey. And we'll go into that as well. It's part of our final wrap up for everything here. So, I'm kind of just getting back to what I was saying here. I'm going to pull cards of advice now for each category. And then I will pull our final cards and get into the reading. So contemplation, so self-education, and what I was saying about evolving as a person. So we obviously are not the same today as you find yourself in this present moment as you were when you were first born. Card of advice is you are not alone for curiosity. And so obviously we evolve and change on a physical level, but that evolution and growth and change does not stop on the physical or with the physical part of our experience. We also grow, evolve, and change in both our mental, emotional, and spiritual sides to our experience as well. For advice for your seat of courage, you have dream talk. And sometimes, because we can see ourselves growing physically, and that's an easy aspect of ourselves to change, to work with, and to evaluate. But it's much harder to do the same with the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual side to ourselves, because it's not as easily seen and recognized. In fact, I've found in myself, in my own personal journey and experience, but also I found with others, that oftentimes we can completely ignore growth in specifically the spiritual and emotional sides, because we are not taught to focus on those areas. We go to school and are taught how to develop the mental aspect of ourselves, but the other two sides, depending on your upbringing, can really kind of fall by the wayside. And so we can find ourselves stunted or blocked in those areas where we have perhaps grown in the physical and the mental, we have not grown in the spiritual and the emotional. And the spiritual and the emotional are really, to me, the most, not the most important, but they are the most important to our ability to feel into our lives, our ability to find meaning through experiencing joy and emotional fulfillment. And if we are blocked from our emotions and we are blocked from our ability to connect with the spiritual side of our existence, we tend to not be able to fully experience joy and fulfillment and to see our purpose and to find our meaning. And contemplation is really what helps us, as the last step, become personally responsible for educating ourselves on all levels, including the emotional and the spiritual. And as our advice for contemplation, we have stay connected. And underlying energy is nature. Such a pretty card there. Love that yellow. Okay, I should put the shoes up a little bit here. Okay, so for our last card, which I like to look at more as an encouragement card, I'm gonna pull here for you guys. Ooh. All right, so we have curiosity. We have Anna, grandmother of Jesus. This card has come out for so many signs this month. There is a lot of, this month I feel there's a lot of divine planning. It's like a seed sowing month by the divine. And if we're open to this month and really open to what's coming in, what's going to bloom from the seeds that are coming in from, call it destiny, the unknown, spirit, the universe, what will be coming in for us into the later part of the year is going to, I think, be life-changing for all of us. Whether on a quiet, emotional, and spiritual level, or whether on a large, physical, kind of loud level. All right, so let's see what our piece of encouragement is for courage. Let's see, that didn't feel right. Let's see, let's go back to courage. Now, when I talk about courage, I always lump it in with courageous action, because courage for me really is tied directly to action. And any action you take takes some form of courage, whether it's getting out of bed in the morning, or when I say getting out of bed, it's choosing to get out of bed, because we could all make the choice to stay in bed and hide from the world. Or whether it's a choice to start a family, or a choice to leave a steady 9-to-5 job to start a business. There is no decision that we make that is more or less courageous when you compare it to others. So depending on where you are in your life, if you're battling, let's say, something like acute depression, sometimes just getting out of bed is a large step of courage. It takes a lot of courage to do that, versus somebody perhaps who has started many businesses and leaving a 9-to-5 to start another one could be easier at that moment. So that's why I really focus on not to compare yourself with others, and not to compare what you see as courageous in your own life versus what you see others doing, because courage is an individual experience, especially when you're putting that in context with actions and decisions that you personally make. So we have awakening. Oh, that is a great card for courage, or a great card of encouragement for courage. So for contemplation, encouragement, what is coming in from spirit, universe, God, whatever you choose to call the unknown? We have the Great Gathering, and this is for contemplation. And your underlying energy is play. Have fun, celebrate, don't be so serious. And I think that really ties into your energy, your natural energy, Sagittarius. Excuse me, I had to take a drink of water. Okay, so let's jump in here. So focusing on curiosity as where we will develop and work with that sense of openness and receptivity to change. This is really the key area to where we can block ourselves off from being able to interact authentically with our external environment. It's also where we can block ourselves off from really being open in an optimistic way to opportunities. When we're looking at this, I refer to this principle specifically in this column as our openness to change, our openness to what cannot be controlled. And often when we get to a certain point in our life, we close ourselves off to change. We either fear change because it has brought in negative experiences into our life, or we just don't want to deal with change because it could be for many things. You know, you could be doing very well for yourself and have a very good personal experience at the moment, and change could change that. But what we tend to do is get to a point where, kind of like what I was just saying in this very moment, we almost look at change as it's always a negative factor, when in reality, change is a constant because it's pushing us to grow. It's pushing us to evolve into the best version of ourselves. We are not meant as humans to stay static. We are not meant to stay as we were born, and that is reflected in our physical growth. But where it's also reflected is in our spiritual, emotional, and mental growth. And so oftentimes we will just take a look at basic experiences that have come in of elements of change that we couldn't control, and their whatever consequences, you know, and how they impacted our life, and we will then apply fear or anxiety towards that. And in reality, when you open yourself up and you become receptive and you become ready to engage with your external environment, this is where the possibilities come in. This is where the beauty of life is able to open up to you. And with Angel of Love as your underlying energy here for curiosity, this is really showing you that this month is about being open and receptive and optimistic to love. To the word vulnerable comes to mind. You know, I think love is the underlying energy that does connect all of us, not even just the human collective experience, but the underlying energy that connects everything, whether it's an animal or a tree or, you know, us with the stars. There's this element of being able to appreciate the vulnerability, and that somehow we are all on some level part of this greater collective design, but from like the tiniest little atom to the largest star, everything is vulnerable, and everything's a state of flux, and everything is also designed for a specific purpose. It's like going out into a flower field and seeing, you know, 28 different types of flowers, each one a different color that's beautiful, each one a different shape, each one a different size, and it's all meant to fulfill a specific role, a specific purpose. And when we tap into that element of love and appreciation for the beauty that comes from how everything is specifically designed and how everything is different from each other, we can also see the vulnerability in that. And at the same time understand and appreciate the beauty, that nothing lasts forever. That there is this vulnerability in every part of creation, including ourselves, but that love is what runs through us all. And that we can, when we think about bringing us as our unique selves into interaction with others and understanding how we are unique and separate from them just as much as everything else is unique and separate from us, that we can appreciate ourselves as much as we can appreciate another through love. And vice versa. That we can see through the eyes of love, and we must bring that back to ourselves and love ourselves as much as we love another. And it's hard. It's very hard to do that. It's very hard to stay open to loving everything as it is. To staying open and receptive to the differences in everything. It's almost a concept of loving yourself unconditionally and bringing that out into the world, or vice versa, depending on where you're at currently. So you might, love everybody else unconditionally, see no flaws in other people, or are constantly looking past flaws, but then you don't bring that back to yourself. And this month is really a month to open yourself up to really loving, open yourself up to the energy of love, but more specifically, opening yourself up to the energy of loving your own unique self. And be willing to accept and love the unique selves of those around you. And to not want to, out of fear and a need for control, when you really can't control the uncontrollable, you can only control yourself, that to not try to change another. This month is really a month for you to understand that, or to look through the eyes of love, to see everything as perfect in its perfect design, including yourself. And we move into you are not alone. And this is your word of advice. We are here for you. We never left. Through all the sadness and loneliness, however, you cannot sense us near you or feel how much love we are sending you. We are your family, friends, and guides. You never walk alone. We walk right beside you. And I love here in this picture that there is this flame. And I almost feel, in just seeing this intuitively, that to me, this is the eternal flame. The eternal flame of passion that resides within each one of us, but the eternal flame that is unique to each one of us. And that we can, this is the seat of our passions, the seat of who we are as a unique part of spirit. And sometimes we can feel that that gets burned out. We can feel that we are alone and that we are stuck in the darkness. And in reality, this is your eternal flame. It always is burning. We just can lose sight of it. And just like this individual seems to have his eyes closed and not see that it's right here in front of him, we can become disconnected. We can actually cut ourselves off from being open to what our eternal flame, to what our passions most specifically can ignite for us and bring in for us, and what our external environment and our connections can help that flame have fuel to burn brighter. And this really says you are not alone. You are not, and now I can take this two ways. That you're not alone in that you have support. and also that you're not alone, and that your external environment exists of everybody else. It's your external environment. And you are not alone in living your life. Yes, you are here to create the life that is meant for you, but at the same time, you also have to connect yourself with that external environment, which includes connecting yourself with others. And that means being vulnerable. That means being able to be your, I think, best Sagittarius self, of going out there and acting on your passions and coming from a place of what lights your fire, but also understanding that you have to see how, you have to be open and receptive to how that is received by others. And how that, as you stay open and receptive to how that's received, then you can move into your seat of free will and personal power and decide how to act with that. And really take in, okay, I'm being vulnerable. I'm coming from a place of love, of showing myself, of acting from my passions, of understanding I have to connect with others to be able to keep my flame burning at its brightest, because what's a passion without sharing it with others? But I also have to respect the same from the others that I'm coming into contact with. So as we come down here, we have Anna, grandmother of Jesus, seeding the light, laying foundations, divine plan. Now, whether or not you believe in Jesus, what I think this card is really focusing on is, we focus so much when when you think of Christianity and Jesus, who his mother was, which is Mary. But we never really focus on what his family lineage was. And so if you think about it, Mary had a mother as well. So there was a grandmother to Jesus, so to speak. And Anna, the grandmother of Mary, the grandmother of Jesus and the mother to Mary, had no idea when she gave birth and raised Mary that ultimately Mary's life would create a child that would then change the kind of face of the human experience. And again, you don't have to believe in Jesus, or the Christian faith, but just kind of thinking about that concept of, a lot of times we will never fully see all of the consequences to our actions. And I've, in other readings, because this card has come up in quite a few readings this month, which is interesting. There's really this element of kind of being open to destiny with faith, being ready to be awed and wondered by what comes in, but releasing expectations. Anna didn't know what was in store for her daughter, and she could never have in her wildest imagination imagined what would be in store for her grandson. Just like a author or a painter who may create a work of art may never see generations 100, 200 years from now who get to read or experience their work and what impact that will have. It's the same with us being receptive to what's coming in. We can't always know the full outcome. That's where curiosity comes in, and for us just to continue to stay in this element of readiness and optimism behind the destiny in our external environment, and really focusing on just being ourselves, loving ourselves, being open to the fact that the universe loves you and is bringing in things within your best interest, because there is a grand design, there is a grand purpose. And really understanding that if you are fearing right now change, If at any point you have anxiety over being you, or how you, or how your interactions, how your actions with others are affecting them or affecting you, if you have any doubt and fear or anxiety around that, what I'm getting here is simply telling you, love yourself as you love thy neighbor. We're going to bring it into a religious, kind of phrase here. But understand that you are meant to act from your internal flame, from your seat of passion. And you have to bring that out, and you have to love that part of yourself. And you have to make yourself vulnerable enough to show that part and to be receptive to what comes back in. Because what's going to come in when you are open and you're utilizing love and your passions, what comes in is what is meant for you and what is meant to basically light that, or not even light the flame. It's meant to feed the flame so that you evolve on that spiritual and emotional level. Now, as we move into your seat of personal power, into courage, it's going to take courage to open yourself up to love. Because I see here you have a broken heart. And we will all go through periods where we have had our hearts broken, or we've gone through emotional trauma. And we have tried to stay open to love. We have tried to be optimistic. And we get hurt. And somebody doesn't like our passion. Somebody walks away from us sharing our light with them. But that doesn't mean that you have to stop being you. That doesn't mean that your light is not meant for the world. Every broken heart can be healed. Even here, the heart is broken, but it's still whole. There is nothing missing here, except for the fact that you went through a learning lesson. Something came in to teach you about your self-value, to teach you about where you actually belong, where your passion is going to be of the most value. And then we have rest and rejuvenation. And this card shows a man not laying down and sleeping, which a lot of us, including myself today, would love to do. But it is showing him going within, reconnecting to spirit, to his inner voice, and rejuvenating and igniting that clear communication and that clarity of vision of who you are. And healing. I see this as he is basically calling in his connection to spirit to heal the traumas that he's experienced so that he can continue to openly greet his external environment with the passion and the eternal flame that he holds within him. He is reigniting it through himself and his internal connection to everything. And when he opens his eyes, he will see, instead of this. So, in thinking about courage as far as your seat of authentic expression and where you take action from who you are authentically and how you courageously interact with what's coming in, this month, this is about courageously taking action and making decisions that take you beyond the heartbreaks from the past, that take you beyond having the courage to understand where you have been hurt and where you are most vulnerable, but making decisions that will take you into those places regardless. And going within to restore that personal confidence that you have in yourself. Going within to tap back into the faith that you have, that you as a unique individual are needed in this world. And that it doesn't matter if you didn't know where you fit before, or somebody rejected you when you tried to fit in someplace previously. It's about getting back to understanding who you are, getting that flame back up, and reigniting it within yourself at full, basically healing it to bring it back to full light, so that you can once again look at what's coming in your external environment with fresh eyes of love. That you can love even the person that hurt you. Or you can love the mistakes that you've made when you followed your passions previously. And to open yourself up now to remembering who you were prior to the heartbreak or the traumatic experiences you have experienced that have caused you to want to block yourself from the vulnerability that comes with being open to others, letting others in, and the vulnerability that comes with opening yourself up to just everything, to showing who you are. Now, as a piece of advice, we have dream talk, and it says, your subconscious constantly and subtly speaks through your dreams. It's just one of the many ways in which your soul and those here in the spirit world can reach out and communicate with you through signs, symbols, messages, and more. And how I see this as advice, especially with rest and rejuvenation, and what I see here is this man almost in a meditative state, is it's time this month to take courageous action to get back into touch with Source Spirit and to really listen and be aware, because there are going to be things that come in, whether it is through dreams. And in reality, I mean, I think most of us have experienced this. We do play out emotional traumas and stress in our dreams at times, and we can have very strange dreams. But we can, have reconnections with people who we haven't thought about in years, or we can have dreams where we work out frustrations. And so you might be experiencing that this month. You might be experiencing some of these kind of cleansic, cathartic dreams where you are moving through and working through these emotional blocks, where you've kept yourself really cut off from understanding that you are deserving of being fully loved as much as you need to apply that to others, and to open yourself up to that, to not cut yourself off and be wary of others or wary of your external environment. But there's this element too here that says, here in the spirit world can reach out and communicate with you through signs, symbols, messages, and more. It's about taking action on what's coming in. So as you're taking this time this month to really, this is more of a month of taking internal action. Sagittarius, you tend to be a sign that is a lot about external action. You are connected to the world of spirituality. And, I look at you kind of as the traveler, the wanderer, the restless soul, so to speak. And oftentimes that involves, externally going out and doing something. And in the classic Rider-Waite Tarot, one of the cards of Sagittarius is the Knight of Wands, which is a knight on a horse, on a galloping steed, who is going to be going and acting on his passions. And that's really where I think the best part of Sagittarius comes from, is being able to be so open to going, basically finding change instead of fearing it. But sometimes we can become so outwardly focused on creating change just for change's sake. Meaning, instead of sitting and internally being quiet and realizing that we can change dramatically without changing our circumstances, without even sometimes moving from where you're sitting, that those changes are just as integral and can create the same level of emotional fulfillment, excitement, engagement that you may be seeking through externally changing your, making external changes. And so this month, I really feel like this is what you're being called to take action on, is to stop, refocus, and take action towards creating internal change. That through the eyes of love, seeing yourself again, almost brand new, seeing who you are today, reconnecting with your divine uniqueness, and understanding that there is the universe that loves you and has a place for you and a purpose for you. And it's time to reconnect with that. And it's time to start making decisions based from that. So as you start to refocus on yourself and making internal, becoming internally aware, you can become then more open to what's coming in here, because you're starting to understand who you are in this moment. And you're starting to understand that change doesn't have to take place through you getting on a plane and traveling halfway around the world. Change can happen right here in this very moment with just a releasing of fear, with just a releasing of the old story. Perhaps you've been telling a story for a long time, or somebody's been telling a story to you for a long time. And now it's time to let that go. It's time to reconnect with the possibilities that are all around you that will create change. And create the change I think you're seeking. But you don't have to rush out into the world and do anything this month. This is a month of stopping and becoming appreciative for yourself. Reconnecting with your personal power and realizing that what will come in because of the releasing of this old story, of these old wounds, will open the floodgates for what is meant for you. Now, your card of encouragement is awakening, and it says energetic upgrades, a new way of being, and integration. Which is beautiful, because I think right here, this is, it sums it up perfectly as far as you are stepping into a seat of personal power from rediscovering a fresh love of self. And just like this card, it's funny, seeing this card is making me think of a lot of these kind of fantasy TV shows and movies and books and stuff where you watch somebody almost like heal themselves and suddenly they become this like brighter, awe-inspiring version of themselves. And that's really what I feel is happening here, that you're healing this portion of yourself, and you're going to come back this brighter being. You're going to take hold of this flame that you thought had been extinguished, and you're going to not only light it, but you're going to emanate it. And others will be drawn to it. You will start to bring in and become open to what's been waiting for you. And then I think really right here says integration. For me, what I think you guys have been experiencing up until now is that there's maybe been two sides to yourself. Maybe there's been that side to yourself that, you know, you've cut yourself off from feeling certain things or seeing certain things because you just don't want to rehash the old stories or traumas. And then there's the other half of you that's yearning, burning on some level to free yourself, to get back on that horse and just go where the wind takes you. And realizing that those two sides to yourself are both you. And you can't have one without the other. And so now it's time to break that barrier between the two and integrate both. You can take the lessons learned from previous heartbreak, but understand that at your very core, you are meant, part of your purpose is to be this free spirit. And you have to determine how best, what feels most authentic and how to express that. Because when we say free spirit, that can mean something different to everybody. And I hope it does, because you're all unique beings. But this is where you rediscover what that is. This is almost like where, you know, in one of those Batman movies where, you know, the superhero ends up kind of losing faith in himself and he has to go out to some mountaintop with some teacher to like reconnect with his, you know, internal abilities again. And it's almost what I'm seeing here is that you're reconnecting with your own superpower and realizing that it is integral for you to express that, but from a place of healing and wholeness and carrying with you the lessons that you've learned, but also understanding I got through that. I got through whatever came before. And I'm still me. And in fact, I might be a more powerful version of myself. And that's the part of myself I have to take action from. It takes courage to act as a hero. It doesn't take courage to hide from a place of fear. It takes courage to take action as a hero. And that's what you're doing this month. You're getting back into your seat of heroic power, of faith in self, so that when you interact, you have faith in the divine design of everything. And you have faith that there is just as much goodness and light and passion in others as there is in you. Now we move into contemplation. And if we think about how this is, you know, reflection and integration, and really where you can not only learn your lessons and apply them, but also your seat of evolution and growth. Because through understanding and looking at consequences to previous actions and really reflecting on them, this is where you can then evolve past them. So we have Magician in the Mirror. Magician in the Mirror really talks to the fact that we're all the magicians in our own life. We each hold the power to manifest what we want for ourselves. We hold the power to manifest our perception of reality. And specifically here you see that he has, it looks like almost like fire on one side and ice on another, or water. And he has the ability to work with both elements. And I really think that this is looking at the two sides to your own personality, that you have this fiery, passionate Sagittarius side to you, and then you have the side that tempers it, the side that is this, the side that brings you back to you. But you have to utilize both. You're the magician. You can bring them together to create the best and brightest version of yourself. And perhaps at certain times you have only gone with fire, or other times you have only gone with ice or water because you've tried to water yourself down. And now it's time to integrate those two sides to yourself. It's time to understand that your power lies right now in tapping back into the eternal flame in your natural spiritual spark and tempering that with the coolness of your connection to spirit, with your ability to go within, with your ability to take a moment and pause, so that it isn't all just action and it isn't all just frozen meditation. It's both. And to really understand, to reflect on where you have perhaps been in both areas of your life at different times, and where now you can integrate both. You can be your fiery, passionate soul with the ability to reflect and go within and gain advice before you act impulsively. And we have stay connected as your piece of advice. It says we are all born connected to spirit, often known as the divine source. Yet many of us have a tendency to pull away from that connection as we journey through life in the physical world. Now is an important time to reconnect to that source. And that's really what I'm seeing here, is that it's time for you to reconnect with source spirit, to allow it to rejuvenate you, to allow it to remind you of your divine purpose. So that as you're looking here to bring both sides to yourself and to understand how you have a passionate side that needs to be expressed, is meant to be expressed, but you also have this ability to calmly engage with spirit, that it's time to really tap back into. So when we think about contemplation, this is really a month to meditate, to stay quiet, to go within, and to heal and bring together as the magician who you want to be moving forward from this very moment. Because we have down here then as encouragement, the great gathering. It says it's all coming together. Intuitive hits, soul tribe. And what this really tells me here is that coming into contemplation, that you're growing and evolving into a new and better and brighter version of yourself that's going to kind of call in something that has been needing to come in for you, something that the divine has been trying to bring in lovingly, and you have been pushing away. Be it an opportunity, an actual love, as let's say a romantic interest, be it as an opportunity in work, and you didn't want to go there and be hurt again, be it an opportunity in just developing new relationships. But there's something that has been meaning, it's almost like a piece of a puzzle has been waiting to fit, and it's been waiting for you to come back to source, to be reminded of your superpower, and to help you become this whole part of yourself, this whole aware part of yourself, so that as you start to take action, you are going to become part of destiny. And it will come through intuitive hits. If you can truly meditate and connect and quiet yourself this month. And again, it's not about clearing your mind, trying to think of nothing. When people who are opposed to meditation bring that up, I always laugh. There's really no way to clear your mind on that level. You're always going to be half thinking of something. It's more about just taking the time and space to recognize that we have that connection to something beyond ourselves. And that if we take the time to listen, we can hear it. And that sometimes that's all it takes to be able for us to uncover that next step on our path to personal purpose. And going into kind of the underlying energies and a final wrap up here, we have journey. And I like how it's a number 2. Again, fitting with an element of this month. If we go from the 11 to the 2, again, it's about your interplay between yourself and others and journey. And it does show me here that you've been on a journey. You've been on a journey, and this month is actually going to be an internal journey. Perhaps up until now, you've been on an external journey. You've been going here and there and living your best Sagittarius life, and you've been running from this integration. You've been running from this reconnection with your superpower. You've been running from your own eternal flame that's needed. And now it's time to go on this eternal journey, or this internal journey. And you have the light of truth with you. And it's time, I also am looking at the element of the mirror component to the magician and the mirror in this card. And it almost looks like he's seeing himself in the mirror. And is wondering, okay, I see my 2 sides. What am I going to do with this? So it's about really being open and honest and seeing your full self as if a mirror is being held and reflected to you. But that mirror is coming from the angel of love. That mirror is coming from a universe that has a purpose for you. And just like you can utilize love to see the best in somebody and not see their flaws. I think that movie, what is it, Shallow Hal, is one of the best examples of that, of being able to see through the eyes of love to the point where you become blind to flaws. And that's really where you need to come from. That's where the mirror that you're looking into this month is shining from. That you have no flaws. You are perfect as you are. And anything that you have been told is a flaw or you have seen as a flaw is not. And it's time to let those old stories go. It's time to realize your heart is still whole. You still have the 2 halves of your heart. It may have been poked or broken, but ultimately you still have a whole heart. And it's time to heal it. And it's time to now shine at your brightest. And then we come into nature as, kind of underlying energy for your advice. And this card says, this is a time to absorb the healing properties that nature has to offer. Your mind, your mind, body, and soul need nourishment, energy, revitalization, and strength. Nature has much to offer, so take this time to connect and spend some quality time outdoors. And I think what better card to come up right now, if you're in the northern hemisphere, because we are moving into full-on spring and actually into summer. So as June progresses, we will be moving into summer. And it's such a beautiful time to be able to go outside and connect. But I really think what it's showing me here is that this is going to remind you that you're not alone. And that everything is connected. Just as I said before, there's this element of every flower has its own unique role. Every insect, every animal, everything has its purpose and its place. There are no 2 insects that look the same. And that's the beauty of life. And it is not, who is to say one is not right or ugly or incomplete versus another? It's not up to us to say, and it's the same for you. It's the same when you're reflecting on yourself. You have your own connection to spirit, and it doesn't matter what others have said or even if you've applied yourself in a way that you maybe have been ashamed of. We all have to go out there and make mistakes. But that's what shows us, that's what helps us grow, it's what helps us evolve, that's what helps us be able to, as we contemplate, like, oops, I acted on my better nature and I fell off the horse. Well, then you get right back on. And you learn how to have a better seat the next time on that horse. And you learn how to control it just a little better. Because again, this is pertaining to self. You can always change internally and control aspects of yourself. You can't control aspects of your external environment, but you can control aspects of your internal environment. And that's your seat of power. That's what allows you to open yourself up to the external environment optimistically and receptively without fear and anxiety, because you know you can handle it. You know that what's coming in for you is meant for you. And whatever challenge is there, it's meant to eventually push you to the best and most evolved version of yourself to fulfill that role you uniquely were meant to play. And then we move down to here, and it says play. Have fun, celebrate, don't be so serious. And I love this card. It's a woman in an old-fashioned glass of champagne. And I think that sums up what play, it's ridiculous and fun and beautiful at the same time. And that's showing me here that the best part of being a Sagittarius is that you are free-spirited, is that you do have the capacity to play with life more than other signs do. And that this month specifically, as you're going internally and you're creating change for yourself on an internal level, don't forget that even though we can go on an internal journey, it's still about enjoying life. It's still about having fun. And that's what all of this should be for. That is why we move past hurt. That's why we learn from our lessons. That's why we continue to push forward courageously. Because life is meant to be experienced. It's meant to be engaging and fulfilling for us. And when it says don't be so serious, I think that's like the least, it is a term that I would apply to Sagittarius, the very least, or I would not apply to Sagittarius as, serious. And I think this is kind of like, a little note to you guys to remember who you are. Remember that you are the one that instigates play. You're the one that gets on your horse and says, follow me, guys. The party's this way. Your subconscious, especially for those of you who have Sagittarius as a moon sign, where the moon sign placements really show how you act on a subconscious level, that you guys are the ones that are, meant to just automatically, again, go where it feels good. Go where what seems interesting. And it's reminding you of your better nature, of who you are. It's who you were meant to be. Just like that flower out in the garden is meant to be this big and bright pink to attract a very specific insect, you are meant to follow your passions. You're meant to be the one to be lighter and to connect with others. Because when you go out there and you follow your passions and connect with as many people as possible, you're almost like a bee. You're pollinating everybody else with a sense of fun and excitement. And just in being you, you get to show others the benefits of coming from a place where you follow your passions and where you follow what feels good and what can come from that, and you lead by example. And that's really what's going to bring in this soul tribe. It's really what's going to bring in all of this together. Is by being you, you're going to bring in the change that you've been trying to seek externally. And all you have to do this month is go on an internal journey. Sagittarius, I think this is going to be a quiet but lovely month for you. I think it's going to be one of those months of almost like I'm seeing like a flower like open up. And again, in its delicate vulnerability. It could stay a closed, tight bud and stay protected. And instead, this month it's about opening up and showing the beauty of you, of your soul again. And then going out and being like, look how beautiful my soul is. Look at my beautiful flower. I'm going to put this in a vase for all to see. And what's awesome is that by the end of this month, it's going to bring in something, an opportunity, a revelation, something that you've been hoping for. I really get that feeling that, especially here, just in looking at this card of Angel of Love, it's almost like she's longingly looking at this, like, oh, when will this happen? When will I get to share myself with others again? The answer is right now. But you have to go on this journey alone this month. And you have to do it from within. You can't bombard yourself and stay busy and try to ignore, what's going on internally and the healing that needs to take place. Because once you do, this longing, this waiting for whatever you're hoping for, whether it's that new job opportunity, it's moving to a new location, it's that love, that romantic love coming into your life that you've dreamed of, it will come. And by the end of this month, you are going to see how. All right, Sagittarius, I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope you all have a fantastic month of June. I kind of wish I was a Sagittarius myself, but I have no placements in your sign. I really look forward to connecting with you all again next month. And if you would like to book a personal reading or private coaching session, the link to my website is in the description box below. Bye, Sagittarius. I will see you next month.